Hello everyone, my name is Lynn Ismael and welcome to my channel. If you live in southwestern Ontario and you're starting to plan your garden for 2024, I encourage you to check out Canning Perennials. Canning Perennials is located close to Paris, Ontario. They are a nursery that only does online. You order in the spring. Their catalog just went live February 1st. Order your plants in the spring, and by May you will get an email indicating the dates when you can pick up the plants that you've ordered. I came across their website back in 2021 when I was researching clematis, and it turns out they're not far from me. I just love perusing their catalog because I think they'll have about 1,500 varieties of perennials in there that they can sell. So even if you are not able to order from them, you can just go through their website and get inspired by the plants that they feature. They have a 10% early order discount, although they don't really mention when that early bird discount ends. Although the last couple of years, I think it ended either end of February or mid-March. I do have a list of plants already that I want to buy this year, but I still like checking out the cool plants for 2024. The first plant that caught my eye is this Geranium cantabrigiense. Variety is intense. And I like hardy geraniums because they can tolerate dry shade. This one is just hot pink. It's a dwarf cranesbill. If you notice below, if you buy more than 3 of the same plant, you get more discount. Next plant caught my attention is Asclepias incarnata, variety Cinderella. I'm already growing Asclepias incarnata, but it is not this particular variety. The variety I'm growing from seed right now is Carmine Rose. And based on the pictures that I've seen, Carmine Rose is brighter than this Cinderella. Cinderella is a bit paler, more muted. Their common name kind of confuses me though, because they're called swamp milkweed. But when I research for what kind of soil conditions they want, I've read places where they've mentioned that they like well drained, which is typically not swamp-like. So I guess we'll find out. Next one that caught my attention is Achillea millefolium terracotta. I find this color particularly intriguing because I think it starts out peachy and then ends up very orangey. I'm more interested in the peachy part of the spectrum because Pantone's color of the year is peach fuzz. And with peach, I can see it working with different types of colors. I can see it going with pink, with purple, with yellow, and maybe some red. So, and they're pretty good with blue too. So I think it's that kind of color that goes with everything, at least in my eye anyway. It's a little bit on the pricier side. I think Northland Nursery has something similar. I'm not sure if it's the same variety, but Northland was short when I saw it at the time. But maybe it's just because it was a first year growing, that's why it's short. I don't know. I won't be buying it, this terracotta one, this year, but it'll always be in the back of my head. Next plant that got me excited is Cornus canadensis. Now, Cornus canadensis is a native plant here in Canada, and it makes supposed to be a good ground cover. I was watching one of Summer Rain Oaks video, and she mentioned that Cornus canadensis supports a lot of beneficial insects in the ecosystem. So I bought a couple of plants from Belgian Nursery when I saw it last spring. Here at Canning Perennials, they're selling it for a gallon for $14.30. So I think that's an okay price. They are hard to start from seed, so if you can find them as a plant, go for it. I think I'm having an orange peachy kick this time of the year because the next one I picked or wanted to see is the Epimedium Orange Queen. Epimedium is a plant that can tolerate dry shade. I have 3 of White Queen Epimedium that I got from Northland Nursery. They're still young, so they could use more growing, but eventually Epimedium will give you those spring flowers with dainty blooms and wiry stems, and then during the rest of the year you'll have heart-shaped leaves. They make excellent ground cover once they're established, and they could be possibly evergreen. I was just out in the garden today and my epimediums still have their leaves. So I am looking forward for them getting more established and providing the greenery even in the middle of the winter. 2024's perennial of the year is Phlox paniculata Gianna, and Canning Perennials is carrying them. I do like phlox, and I have several in the garden right now, although they're pretty young. I don't have this particular variety though, and I'm just looking at the stats right now, and it goes up to 100 to 125 centimeters, so it can grow up to 4 feet tall, which makes a great cut flower. I don't think I've seen this variety at Northland Nursery, so I think this could be something I'd consider. Maybe not this year, but the following year. Next is Thalicrum de la Valle, my little favorite. That's the next plant that I caught my eye. I think the regular Thalicrum de la Valle goes up to 4 feet tall, but this particular one, my little favorite, is a dwarf variety. The flowers remind me of Epimedium, and the foliage reminds me of a Aquilegia, the common name Columbine. I do prefer the taller varieties though, because it gives you that airy feel in the border. But there must have been a need for a shorter Thalicrum, otherwise they wouldn't have bred this dwarf form. Next one that I thought was interesting is this Viola canadensis, which sounds like a native viola. It looks dainty, grows up to, looks like at least 6 inches tall, but only spreads 6 inches wide, 6 to 12 inches wide. So you'll need a lot to create impact if this is a slow growing perennial. So this is why I like Canning Perennials. It shows you plants that you've never even heard of, and that triggers your curiosity, so you go down the rabbit hole and find out about that particular plant. So I'm going to be looking at Viola canadensis and see how easy they will be to propagate. Next one over here is Miscanthus sinensis. Variety is called Fire Dragon. With Miscanthus, they get very tall. This one gets up to at least 5 feet if I'm going by the stats here. It gets fiery leaves in the fall, and they seem to make a good plant for screening or for hedging. But what would interest me is their flowers or inflorescence. I don't know the exact term that they use, but the grass flowers, they make good cut flowers. I could see the foliage making good arrangement for flower arranging too, although I don't know how sharp those leaves are, because I think Miscanthus, or is it, I don't remember. There's a particular grass that can cut you if you go along its leaves a certain way. But anyway, it's a beautiful grass for the landscape. I just don't think I have the space for it at this point. Now, Carex pennsylvanica, variety straw hat. Carex pennsylvanica is a carex or sedge that tolerate dry conditions, dry shades in particular. But this one, the straw hat variety, has yellow ends, like almost like cotton balls, I think, just based on the picture anyway. I've never seen it in a picture. But I would imagine it looking really nice under a tree, like a specimen tree that has very architectural form. And then you have a mass of this Carex pennsylvanica straw hat underneath, and just the movement in the wind. I think that would look spectacular. The Carex pennsylvanica that I bought, just a regular one, they're not really rabbit resistant. So if you don't have any rabbits, you can plant Carex pennsylvanica under your trees and they would look good. Another plant for the shade, Dianthum venestum. It's also called maidenhair. This one is the Himalayan maidenhair fern. I just like the form. It's got these little circular leaves and wiry black stems. I would really like to have them in my damp bed, but I don't have the budget for it this year, maybe next year. So I'll keep this in mind. Next that caught my eye is something I've never heard of before, Cladiatris lutea. Cladrastis lutea. It looks like a wisteria tree, and apparently it is very fragrant. It grows up to 12 feet, so a small tree. And I know wisterias can get really, really long. We had a neighbor once that had a wisteria climb a really, really tall tree, and unfortunately they cut that tree down, so that wisteria is now gone. But I wish I have my own wisteria tree, and if I can't grow wisteria, I can take a look at this Cladrastis lutea. I should do more research on what this tree is all about. Next one here is the Amorpha fructuosa. I believe Amorpha is a native perennial. It's in the legume family, so it can fix its own nitrogen, and the pollinators really love them. I did try to winter sow a bunch of its seeds a couple of years ago, and they did do well, except that I forgot to plant them out. So I don't have them in my garden. You can buy the seeds from Gelito if that's something you're interested in getting, or you could just buy it from here. But the only thing is that they're not rabbit resistant. I think that's why I didn't end up planting them, because of that reason. But based on the pictures, they're very pretty plants. Now that's about it for their cool plants for 2024. So now I'm gonna start looking for the plants that I'm wanting to buy this year. First one is Gilenia trifoliata. I've bought seeds from 2 companies, and so far none of them have germinated. So I'm just gonna buy 3 plants. These remind me of a Gora. Common name is whirling butterflies, but these ones can grow in part shade. I already have 3 growing under my trees, but that was more of a dry shade, and I believe this one's Gilenia is supposed to like a little bit more water than what I'm giving them right now. Anyway, next plant I'm looking for is Aconitum. They have 2 offerings, and I'm getting this blue one. Aconitum carmichaelii arendsii. That's a long name. Anyway, everything about this plant is poisonous, so this will be staying inside my fenced garden. And I want this plant not just because it's pretty, but because I'm hoping that it will help me get rid of the voles that are living in that fenced area. I think once the snakes in the garden start waking up, they should be gone, but this icon item is just an extra protection. Next item that I'm looking for is the Stand By Me Clematis by Proven Winners. Stand By Me Clematis is also called bush clematis, and I believe it's a hybrid with the other bush clematis called Clematis integrifolia. Clematis integrifolia grows up to 5 to 7 feet tall, but the bush clematis grows up to 3 feet tall. They don't find like a typical clematis, but you still do need support. And what I really like about the Stand By Me clematis is that they have the seed heads once the blooming is done. If they're bred with Clematis integrifolia, I believe they'll make great cut flowers, and even if they are not in bloom, their foliage will make great fillers. So I'm hoping that I get 2 of those. Now the last thing in my wish list is the polygonatum, common name Solomon's seal. I want to get Solomon's seal for the dry part of the garden in the shade, because that's the part of the garden that's most difficult to choose plants for. Solomon's seal makes great filler for foliage in the spring. They will eventually spread, but I don't think they're that fast. So I think I'm gonna get 3 of these. So for now, these are the plants that I have in my cart. I'll definitely buy these varieties. I just need to think through if I'm willing to buy them in these numbers. Definitely the standby clematis I will have to buy 2. But for the other ones, I could just buy 1 and in a few years just divide them into 3, then I'll have 3. Or do I really want to have multiples right now? Anyway, thank you for watching. I show up on YouTube every Thursday. So until I see you again, bye.